Unthrifty loveliness, why dost thou spend upon thyself thy beauty's legacy? Nature's bequest gives nothing, but doth lend, and being frank, she lends to those are free. Then, beauteous niggard, why dost thou abuse the bounteous largess given thee to give? Profitless usurer, why dost thou use so great a sum of sums, yet canst not live? For having traffic with thyself alone, thou of thyself, thy sweet self, dost deceive. Then, how, when nature calls thee to the grave, what acceptable audit canst thou leave? Thy unused beauty must be tombed with thee, which used lives the executor to be. Okay, that was Sonnet 4. This was a weird one. Yeah, I've mixed feelings about this sonnet, which is kind of a first. I really enjoyed the first 3, and I enjoyed the imagery and content of this, but I'm a little torn on like the context aside, just the verse itself. It was very difficult to scan, much more difficult to scan than the last few. Especially that last line. Oh my God, that last line is, maybe I don't know. I had trouble with it. Maybe it's not that weird, but that word, executor or executor, for me it had to scan executor with used being 2 syllables to make it make some sense. And at first when I read that line, I mean, when I hear execute, I think like executioner, but the distinction between executor and executor I think is important in that line, because I think what Shakespeare's saying is that in contrast to if you leave your beauty unused, you don't have kids, you don't do anything with it, that's just going to stay in your coffin, and you're going to be dead, and it's not going to do anything. But if you use it, thy unused beauty must be tombed with thee, which used lives. So it's like, if you use it, if you have kids, it's going to live on in this, and executor being the child that will be, and kind of, I got a double meaning out of that, like execute as like start the next phase of like the progression of the fair youth's beauty, is moving on from the end of the fair youth's life to the child's life. That's what I got. I mean, that line gave me a lot of trouble. But I do like the imagery and the metaphor of beauty being beauty and money and like transactions as a metaphor. I really like that, because I like the idea of nature being, of like, when a beautiful thing is created, that is beauty as a quantity being lent, and there will be a transaction later when that thing dies, when it gets old, and that beauty should kind of be passed forward, pass it along kind of concept. And it reminded me of a line from Waiting for Godot. The tears of the world are a constant quantity. And then me, being a science nerd, connecting that to like the conservation of mass and energy, that like in both contexts, beauty and money, it is constant. Like, I mean, okay, you can print money, but that's, someone's job is to print money, so they're getting paid to do that, and the material that goes into money is, has a cost associated with it. So the thought of like, literally, there's no creation or destruction of stuff, it's just flowing into other forms. And so a beautiful, and again, I think it's more powerful to think of beauty as more than just like surface level beauty. And that actually gets touched on in the next sonnet. The next sonnet, I actually love the imagery. I started looking at it, and while I like some of the concepts here, it's not quite as powerful imagery. I mean, money transactions, and the next one that has like a winter-summer kind of imagery, which is really, really cool. And it kind of harkens back to, I think last week's Sonnet 3 had the idea of lenses and distortions through glasses and windows, and so that kind of comes back in the next sonnet. So already like that'll be Sonnet 5 next week, and that's still continuing this kind of dialogue, and it's still one arc. They're all connected, which I'm surprised by. I'm surprised that this has been this continuous of an arc, and I'm curious to see how many of those kind of arcs there are. Like, where is there going to be a distinct shift, or are they going to naturally evolve into each other? This sonnet provoked a lot, kind of like the last one. In the last one, the provocation was like logical, in like kind of setting up like an unassailable argument to be like, here, you have to do stuff now because you're not going to have the time later, so just do it. Whereas this one, it doesn't seem as like clear cut, and there's not as much to me it doesn't read as there's much forethought. It's like emotionally wrought, like, you idiot, it's more lashing out, which I think is more interesting, but also just more challenging to scan and read and find the meaning and the through line, I guess, of the whole sonnet. So this was a fun one. This was a difficult one. So let me know if you have any thoughts or questions. But I'll be doing Sonnet 5 next week. So have a good Sunday, everyone.